What is going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. I was actually just connecting my laptop to the ECU to make sure this works before I go digging into stuff and cutting stuff up. So today's plan is to install a USB somewhere here to where I can easily plug in my laptop without having to reach all the way down here to get this cable disconnected to my laptop. Now this is like a 10-foot cable that's supplied with the AEM EMS. And I hate leaving it out because it looks ugly and looks tacky. And if I don't leave it out, I'll have to pull back the carpet every time and pull some plastics back, and you already know the deal. So that's usually a little tighter. Once the glove box is in, it's even smaller and tighter to get down there. So I don't really want to deal with all that. I'd love to have it like, I'd like to have it like right here or right here. But the way these flush mount setups come, so as you can see, the way they come, it's flush. I guess it's as flush as you can get it, but this is still gonna like protrude outwards a little bit. So if I got a single one to sit right here, because the double one wouldn't fit. If I got a single one to sit right here, it would look, I guess it would look clean, but these have like a slight curve to them, I think. So it won't sit 100% flush, and I mean, that's not the biggest deal, but what's gonna bug me is how far out it sticks past this actual blank. So if it sticks out past it, it's obviously not going to look OEM, and it bothers me to have it there looking like that. So my other option was to just use these two right here. This is my cell phone charger. It's a cigarette lighter, but I just bought this. It just screws into the factory spot. You just pop out the factory cigarette lighter, and I think you have to trim a little bit in the back, but you pop this in, and there's a nut on the back that tightens it up against the panel, and then you don't ever have to worry about a cigarette lighter again. Or, you know, a floppy adapter falling out to charge your phone. You have your USB ports right there. So to me, that looks cleaner, and I don't smoke, so I really don't need a cigarette lighter. I did think about using that one, but I also wanted to label it. Not that, I mean, even if you got it wrong, it's not like it would hurt anything if you were plugging it in and you went into the wrong one. But just for the sake of having everything clean and labeled and just straightforward, I think it'll look better if I put it in here in the center console. So ignore this little bit of mess I got. But thinking right here, cut my little hole right there, make a nice square hole, something that's tight, and then we can have this right there, a label on the right, a label on the left. One will be for the AEM EMS, and the other one will be for the AEM failsafe gauge. Now, the reason I want to hook this up to a USB is just because it can display boost and AFR. It can't display them at the same time, which sucks, but it is what it is. And if I need it for diagnosing purposes or just to see what's going on, sometimes it's nice to be able to swap it to read boost. So in my case, I noticed in a video I made a little while ago, I noticed that my map sensor was reading off, and I wasn't sure if it was the actual map sensor or the BTI gauge not being calibrated properly, or it not being properly working through the AEM EMS. So we ended up figuring out that it was in fact the calibration within the BTI gauge, so it's all good. But it was nice to know exactly what boost I was running, and to have a separate boost reference, you know, it made things a little bit easier. Now, I'm not going to go say something stupid like put multiple gauges of the same thing in your car, but for my case, it just made it easier for me to diagnose that. I already have it, and if I were to sell the gauge used, it really wouldn't bring me anything, maybe 30, 40 bucks. So to deal with the hassle of selling it to somebody, negotiating prices, and pulling it out, it's just not worth it to me at this point. And I can probably use it in another car in the future that maybe doesn't have all the same fail-safes that this car has now with the AEM EMS. So for that, I'm gonna keep that, but I want this to be as easily accessible as the AEM that's down there. So that's why I'm using a dual port USB setup, so that way I can plug into each one just by plugging in the USB into my center console instead of having to reach under the carpet. So this is the one for the wideband. It just chills under here. I probably can't even get it out right now without loosening the center console, but it just chills down here, so I have to pop the shifter panel off to be able to get to it. And like I said, I don't want to go popping things off and having to mess with stuff to actually connect to this stuff. I want it to be easy and simple and be, you know, as close to OEM as possible. Like the rest of the car is like, okay, the Supra's aged like extremely well, but there's things within a 90s car that are not that great. So obviously, like not having a touchscreen head unit, a double din, Bluetooth, good sound quality in your radio, all that stuff is not something that came factored in these cars. So, you know, I'm just little by little trying to perfect it and bring the car up to date with little things like this. Now, I mean, I guess it could be seen as a little tacky because it is a USB that I'm putting in that's not from the factory, and it is a cheap part. It's not expensive, but I mean, there's no point in spending a ton of money on something like this. So this is already unbolted. There's some fuses and some other junk in here. So that happens when you have a car, it doesn't run half the time. These two screws are already loose, and then There's a screw up here, but anybody who messes with a Supra already knows that because these are really, really easy to pull apart. So pull this off like that, slip it over the parking brake, and your center console's out. So we're gonna go ahead, pull this all the way out. Okay, so I got everything laid out. I'm gonna show you what I'm using to do this. So this is the same thing I showed you earlier. This is just a 2-port USB plug, and it's got 2 male connectors. I couldn't find one with a female end on this side, which would have been way better because I just plug my stuff right up to it, but I couldn't find it. So I'm using these, and these are all USB 3.0. They say you can tell because it's blue, but it's also, it's got 9 prongs in there instead of the typical 4, I believe, that comes in the USB 2.0. So yeah, these are 3.0, but they're reverse compatible with the 2.0. The AEM is a USB 2.0. So as long as you use, I don't even know if there's anything less than that, but yeah, as long as you use a USB 2.0 or above, you should be able to work. It should be able to work fine. This is the single port I actually had when I was gonna put it in that blank, but I decided not to use it. But this is also a male. But this one is a USB 2.0. You can see it's the white with 4 connectors inside. So we're gonna use these to connect the 2 males. So the male coming out of the AEM and the male coming out of the port that's gonna be in the center console. Okay, so you can see it has the clips on the sides and nothing right here. Well, I guess this will be the sides and the clips will be on the top and bottom. But it has like these little ridges, so I'm gonna measure it by those. That way it can sit in there real snug and tight. I don't want it to have any side-to-side play. So I measured it out to about 20.83. 21's probably good. It'll probably still fit snug. But I'd rather do it tight and maybe shave it a little bit off than to do it too loose and it not fit as snug as I want. Okay, so I decided to cut it from the inside, or at least mark it from the inside. That way all these markings from a permanent marker, in case they don't come out, it's not going to be visible from the inside of the center console. So I used this little square piece that I measured out to be 20.80 or 20.60, whatever the measurement was. And it was actually a perfect square that I have to cut out. So use that to pretty much mark it. And that way I can pull that tape off and cut on the inside of that square. And then we should be able to have our hole right there. Update, so hole's actually really nice looking, but still not big enough. Once it gets to here, it seems like it needs a little more than the actual size of this to get past these clips. I was hoping I didn't have to go too much wider than it, but I guess I'm going to have to, just because, you know, it is material there that I'm going to have to get by. I just don't want to go too wide because I don't want it to be visible, you know, on the side of this lip right here. So we're going to be careful to just open it up a little bit more, but we don't got that much more to go. Just a little bit more. Okay, so I think it's finally big enough now. I almost went a little bit bigger, but decided to let me test fit this. And there we go. Actually came out really good. That's what it looks like from the back side. That's what it'll look like. Just have it tucked this way so it doesn't interfere with nothing, the shift or nothing. And yeah, definitely happy with it. So we're gonna go ahead and stick this back in the car, plug everything up, and yeah. So we got it labeled up, EMS on one side, AFR on the other. And got the wires ran already for the AFR. Tucked it down here so it's nice and clean, and the wire runs in front of the shifter, right across there and up into the dash, and then over here obviously. So now we just have to connect this end to this over here. So I'm gonna reach it up underneath the dash through the carpet. I can probably just tuck it under here actually, but yeah, I'm gonna tuck it up in there, have it connected to the ECU, and then I'm gonna tuck all this back. We're gonna plug it in one more time after everything's buttoned up, see how it works, make sure everything's good to go, even though I already checked it, but we're gonna check it again anyway, just because I like to see my work finished. So we're gonna go ahead and get that done now. There we go. So now we got everything nice and neat, carpet pushed back, and we'll just plug this thing in here. Now if this is plugged in, we can just drop this. So we'll turn ignition on. Go ahead, connect the ECU to the laptop. And start it up. Like I said, I'm just trying to do what I can to make the car seem a little more modern. A lot of newer cars, you can just plug into the OBD2 port and you can tune them. You can set up gauges to read off of that. And you could, display whatever the computer's seeing. You can do a lot of really nice stuff with these newer cars. And let's face it, Supras are old. Even like GTRs and all the other cars, the 90s Japanese cars, they're all old. Can you see that? It's too cold. It is too cold for this. Get the hell out of here. Yeah, they're all old and they all don't have the technology that a lot of us want or expect because we're just so used to these newer cars. So this is just my way of making my Supra a little more modern. I do want to change the double din also because that's an older Pioneer setup. I don't like the sound that it makes. It sounds retarded. But I'm going to wait till I change my door speakers. I have a little setup. I think I'm going to do some 6x6.5 up front and some small subs and the two back sides instead of actual door speakers because I look at it like kind of like a regular cab truck. This is such a small car. Nobody's going to sit back there anyway. And the sound doesn't have to go far in this car. So I feel like, just some good speakers up front, some good highs right there in the dash, or some good tweeters in the dash for some highs. And we should be able to make some, decent quality sound in this car without having to add a ton of weight, a ton of wiring, and just without being an excessive sound system, because like I said, I don't want to go overboard with it, and I want to keep the car as light as possible also, so I don't want to add a sub in the back and extra wiring, extra amps. I am going to replace the stock amp that's under the passenger seat that I still have, but other than that, I'm not going to go any further with an audio system. But like I said, it's just it's just things that I want to do to update the car and make it more modern and make it easier to use. Like I said, I don't want to reach under the carpet for the wire to connect to my ECU. If I'm data logging or doing anything like that, it's just easier for me to be able to plug it in right there. If I'm at the track, if I make any adjustments, make any settings, or if I got to send my tuner a log for whatever reason, it's just easier for me to just grab a cable, throw it in the center console, plug it up, and like I said, it looks so much better. It looks so much better. The label made it, a lot cleaner, easier. I'm just happy with it. Like I said, just my way of modernizing the car. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys like the way the Supra's coming along. If you want to see more of this content, please like, comment, subscribe. I was going to actually ask for opinions before I did this, but I kind of got into the whole wheel bearing thing, and I was just like, whatever, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and do it, get it done. But no, I'm definitely happy with it. If anybody else got any ideas, throw me some ideas. Help me modernize the car, because I love 90s cars, but they're just old. They're old. So throw me some ideas. Throw me some ideas of what you've done and what you want to do to modernize your car. But until next time, take care, guys.